Assalamu Aleikum, my name is Amira Costa, and in this video I'm going to tell you how I became a Muslim. I was born in a city called Vila Velha in Brazil, and I spent most of my life in this city. Most of my life I was a Christian. My mom was a Catholic. My father's religion was the Spiritism. For a short time, me and my mom used to go with my father to the Spiritism too, but my mom did not feel well going there, so she decided to go to the Catholic Church, and I used to follow her. I don't question too much which religion should I follow, if I should go with my father or with my mom, but I always believed in God and I always believed in Jesus, so I thought it was fine to go to the Catholic Church. Most of Brazilians at that time were Catholic. I did not see any problem in going there, and I kind of liked going there. But there were many questions for me that I felt like I did not get the answer for those questions, but it was fine. I was too young to feel upset that I was not being answered, about those questions. So when I was a teenager, I started reading about religion. I was always thinking about it and reflecting about many things. Most of my friends, they were Catholic, so I carried on going to the Catholic Church. But I started reading many things that made me think that I did not agree with everything in the Catholic Church, but it was fine. So it came a time in my life that I just stopped going to the church, and I was just spending my time going to parties, staying at home, not practicing any religion, but I used to think I was a Christian. But I think it came a point where I felt like I do not want to go to the Catholic Church anymore. I felt it was not the right thing for me, and one of my friends invited me to Protestant church with her. I accepted, so I went there and I carried on visiting that church, but at the same time I was going to the parties, drinking. I did not feel like, I was part of that group of religious people, but I was also feeling like going to the parties was not the best thing for my life, so I kind of felt like I was lost in my life, because that was not the person that I used to be when I was younger. I did not see a future for myself if I carried on in that way. So I was feeling a bit sad that my life was in that place, but I could not find any church where I felt like, okay, this is the church, then everything that they say I agree and I believe. But it was fine. I still believed in Jesus, I still believed in God, and I did not think there was another religion that would talk about the same God and the same Jesus. So I just carried on in that life. One of my biggest dreams in life was to learn English, and I could never afford paying for the classes, and it was expensive for me, and I did not have access to internet at home, so I could not buy books, but I was always trying my best to learn by myself, and I was always translating songs and trying to learn new words. I bought a little dictionary that I used to mark the words that I knew the translation, and that's it. When I was about 26 years old, finally I had a computer in my home and I had access to internet. And one day I thought that maybe I should try to speak to someone online, because I was too shy to practice my English with people that could see my face. So I was wondering if I could find a website where I could talk to people from other countries where they can just hear my voice. And then I found this website and I could talk to people from everywhere in the world. And in those days, I was being more religious. I was going to the church nearly every day, and I was trying to change the way that I was dressing, trying to be more modest. And because I was being very religious though in those days, I thought maybe that website would be a good place to talk about Jesus to the people that I met there, because I kind of knew that people from Arabic countries and people from India, for example, they are not Christians. So I thought probably they don't know about Jesus. I don't know anything about Islam. I don't know anything. Like, the only thing that I knew was that Muslims say Assalamu Aleikum, because there was a soap opera in Brazil like 20 years ago, and it was about a Muslim girl. But I did not watch that soap opera because I was working at night when it was on TV. So I did not watch it. I did not learn many things, but everybody was talking about it. So of course I learned Assalamu Alaikum. When I was talking to one guy, and he was from Yemen, and I asked him what was his religion, and he said, I'm Muslim. I thought, okay, that's it, I'm going to invite this guy to Jesus. And then I say, hey, do you know anything about Jesus? And then he said, of course I know about Jesus. Muslims believe in Jesus. We must believe in Jesus to go to paradise. I said, how can you believe in Jesus but you're not Christian? And he said, okay, you should search about how Muslims believe in Jesus. Search about it on Google, and then you're going to understand better. That night I was asking many other questions, and everything that he was telling me about Islam, I felt like, whoa, I agree with everything that you're saying. I like what you're telling me about Islam. So after that day, I started searching for other Muslims, and I wanted to be friends with many Muslims because I wanted to ask many questions, and just one person would be bored to be 24 hours answering everything that I wanted to ask. So I started adding many Muslims to my social medias, and in those days I used to use Skype a lot. So I had many Muslims on my Skype, and some of them, they were really helpful. They really wanted to answer my questions and wanted to talk about it as much as possible. So I started reading a lot about Islam, and I started reading not with the intention to become a Muslim. I thought that at some point I would find something to prove that Muslims are wrong. But the more I was reading, the more I was liking what I learned about Islam. So I carried on reading, and I was trying to read from Muslim websites, from non-Muslim websites, because I wanted to have a neutral point of view. And I carried on studying, and I became really obsessed with this topic. And I was waking up, going straight to computer to read about Islam, and I was not working in those days. So I had plenty of time to read and talk to people. And I had so many questions, and I started finding things talking about Muslims and terrorism, and I was like shocked because I never connected, those attacks with Muslims. It was the first time for me that I saw that people were blaming a religion for those attacks. So I was asking my friends, what is that all about? And they explained everything to me, and I understood how unfair it is blame a religion and all its followers for what a few people do, even if it's in the name of the religion, because as a Christian, we know that many people did bad things in the name of Christianity, and I was always so lucky that nobody pointed a finger to me to say, look, you're Christian, and because of those Christians, you are bad as well. So I carried on studying, and I was thinking to myself, I'm not going to be a Muslim. I'm going to start doing these things that Muslims do, the things that I thought was really cool, like fasting, and I wanted to pray more like Muslims, but I said, I'm not going to be a Muslim. I'm just going to do these things because I think, you know, when you believe in God, you should be doing those things. The more I was reading, the more I was feeling like I really feel like I cannot disagree with anything that I'm reading. And but it was really difficult to decide to change from one religion to another, because first, it's very easy to be a Christian in a Christian country, so why would I change if life was easy like that? So one day I felt so sad because I was trying to find the answers, and there were so many lies mixed with truth, and you know, like many people accusing Islam of this and that. And then when I was reading what Islam says about those things, and I could see that people making like false accusations, and I started feeling overwhelmed by all that search and all those informations that I was finding. I understood that if God did not guide me, I would not find the answer by myself. And because I understood that only God could guide me, I decided to pray. So one night I was in my bedroom, so I remember placing my hands on the floor and then touching the ground with my forehead, and then I prayed and I asked God to guide me to the path that He wanted me to follow. And if I had to become a Muslim, I would do it. I understood that I would have to sacrifice many things in order to be a Muslim. But if He wanted me to stay as a Christian, for me it was fine as well. Anything He wanted me to do, I would follow. So I prayed and I cried a lot in that night. And after I finished the prayer, I kind of felt like in that moment I could relax. I did not need to carry on doing my research anymore, because God would send me a sign. And I started finally to feel peace in my heart and started feeling relaxed. And I think after 1 or 2 days, by that time I already knew the words of the Shahada, and I started feeling like saying those words with my heart. And I was saying those words to myself, but not taking Shahada, but just because I wanted to say, because those words made me feel so good. So I had a friend, and I promised him that I would take Shahada with him if I decided to be a Muslim, which I thought I would never do. And he helped me a lot to find the answers and everything. So one day I sent him a message and say, hey, I'm ready to become a Muslim. And he couldn't believe. And in those days, he was moving to Saudi Arabia. So his connection was really terrible. And he said, okay, I cannot talk to you right now. Just give me 1 day or 2 and I come back to you. So I started waiting, and I started feeling really scared of what is going to happen to me. What if I die before I become a Muslim? And I was so worried about, what's going to happen. And I really wanted to take the Shahada. And I was waiting, and after 1 or 2 days he came back. Then I took the Shahada. So in that moment it was really special to me, and I was like laughing so much because I was like really happy, and I could not believe that I was becoming a Muslim in that moment. In that moment I felt like my future was going to be really good, and Alhamdulillah, I had good days, I had bad days, but I feel like these last years since I became Muslim were the best days of my life, and I never regretted becoming a Muslim. Some people ask me if I became a Muslim because of my husband, and no, in those days I tried to not get involved with anyone like emotionally, because that was the most important moment of my life. Your connection with God must be more important than anything in this life, and you must to understand that you will be alone in the day that you have to be in front of God. So I tried my best to take my decisions only looking to what I believe, what seemed to be the right thing for me to do. Also, people ask me if I became Muslim because I was upset with the Christianity, with Christians. No, I would still be a Christian if I did not find Islam, because I believe in Jesus, I believe in God, and everything that I thought did not make sense when I found Islam, I understood why they never made sense. And this is it. I hope you liked this video. Thank you very much for watching. Assalamu Aleikum.
فما منكم من أحد عنه حاجزين وإنه لتذكرة للمتقين وإنا لنعلم أن منكم مكذبين وإنه لحسرة على الكافرين وإنه لحق اليقين فسبح باسم ربك العظيم.